Hey there everybody, welcome to a beautiful midsummer's day on Mackinac Island in Michigan. We have a real treat for you today. We are taking a midsummer tour through my grandma's gardens. We did a video earlier this spring when none of this stuff was in bloom or leafed out or anything, just to show you the structure of this really fantastic garden. And now we're gonna dive in midsummer and check it out. All right, so one of the most stunning elements of this beautiful garden that I've been able to nurture for really my whole entire life is this incredible moonbeam hydrangea right at this entryway arbor. So right off of the boardwalk in this very busy street, you tuck into this really secluded little entryway. And believe it or not, this is one of the most photographed locations on Mackinac Island. Bride and groom photography, you name it. Sometimes my grandmother even has to wait in line just to get into her own gate, but she does patiently because she's the sweetest woman in the world. But we do keep this hydrangea trimmed back quite a bit. It's kind of on the, on the tail end of its bloom. As you can see, these big, beautiful moppy flower heads here still have some flowers on them and such. But we do try and keep it trimmed back to show off the architecture of this beautiful structure. This entire arbor or pergola entry is all made out of cypress, as well as the entry fence or the boundary fence, and it's holding up really well. This is about 35 years old or so now. Probably, yeah, 35 years old. And really in pretty good shape. The roof itself is in not in very good shape. It's rotting out. There's some big holes in it and everything. But the hydrangea has become the structure. It has become the roof, and when it leaves out and everything like this, even in a pouring rain, it still stays dry inside that entryway arbor there. So I've been trimming and pruning on this thing my whole entire life, and it's a lot of fun to prune back. After it's done flowering, we'll prune it back pretty hard and get it back in shape and everything like that. And next year it'll be full of blooms and vigorous growth again. But midsummer like this is a really fun time to be in this garden. She's got a lot of really great, beautiful roses. And these old rugosa roses. This one here, as you can see, has got some pretty significant deficiency going. Looks like an iron deficiency there, at least on some of the sucker growth. Now I cut this thing back like really hard a couple of years ago because it was getting really big and gangly. Oh, and the smell on these is amazing, but these old roses are really tough. And one of my favorites because they last a long time. The fragrance is awesome, but you got to have the right space for them. They will send out a lot of suckers and try and spread a little bit. Another real specimen in this garden is all about some really impressive old specimens. Is this massive grafted Palabin lilac. This Palabin lilac is grafted up on a black cherry stem. And this, again, is probably about 35 years old, this big old gumdrop. We just trimmed it back, so it was a full purple cloud a few weeks ago. It has just finished blooming. We trimmed it back, and you can see there's a lot of just little buds and stuff starting to form because it will, in fact, bloom again. So we will get a whole nother bloom on this late summer. It won't be nearly as vigorous as the first bloom, but it will bloom again. So we trim it back really nice and tight right after bloom, and we do get another bloom out of it. See a lot of astilbe, hostas, and daylilies. This is kind of their season and their time. Another really cool specimen or feature here in the garden is these really cool espaliered crabapple trees. Last time we toured through this garden, they were just sticks, and you could see the structure of them. and now you can see them all leafed out. They do need a little bit of pruning and cleaning back a little bit, just to clean them up and make sure that they're really in nice tight shape here. But these look great. And again, these are some of the original plantings from the garden, with the hydrangea, that lilac, these crabs, and this awesome Camperdown elm. This big weeping elm here is also a grafted specimen. We can get up underneath this thing, and it's just the craziest, wildest growth. And in our first video, we showed this tree in the spring when there were no leaves on it at all, so you could really see the structure. And now all leafed out, it just creates this awesome umbrella and deep shady spot here for some of these hostas and astilbes to just thrive. Looking so pretty. Another really cool plant that my grandmother absolutely loves is this Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangea. This is a arborescens hydrangea, so similar to like your Annabelle hydrangea, it blooms 100% on new wood. You can whack it back hard right to the ground, and it comes up with all new growth, full of blooms every single summer. And even in the full sun, this hydrangea just absolutely thrives. She's got some great daylilies and daisies, some real classics. I can see there's definitely some holes that we came in and filled with annuals, which is great to keep the garden really playful and full of color. But it sparks some ideas for me, because I see some areas where we definitely need to do some dividing. We got to do a little bit of reorganizing and bringing in some new plant material and filling up some of these pockets to not only keep the gardens really interesting, but keep them really full and vibrant with some nice new plant material. Some of these hostas have been here forever and ever since I was a little kid, and they're okay. They've gotten really big. They're looking squashed and squished in here. They've overgrown their space, so it's time now to divide those out and start reorganizing some of these parts and pockets of the garden to get that a little bit more fresh. So the home itself is all cedar shake. It's never had any stain or oil or finish on it whatsoever. And all of the siding is original. The roof has been redone once, but in 35, 40 years, the house is in really good shape and is weathering quite nicely. So you can see the siding is getting all kinds of fun lichen and growth on it, which looks absolutely beautiful, but that cedar is holding up really well. And even on the north side of the house here, where this would typically stay fairly moist all the time, it's in really good shape and is dried out. Part of the reason for that is we've got the irrigation system really dialed in here, so we're making sure that all the irrigation is only hitting plants. There's no water or moisture or anything like that up on the building. And any plantings or anything like that close to the building are kept off and kept back. And even this Pachysandra will whack that back and cut it back pretty hard in the fall, especially away from the building, because it'll just keep coming back and have no problem regrowing in the spring, to make sure the building is breathing and has plenty of room to air out and stuff like that, because that's what's made this last for as long as it has, with very little care or repair or anything. Now, one of the most stunning aspects of my granny's house here is the location. It's a really special spot. We're very fortunate to have this in the family, of course, but sitting literally right on Lake Huron here, the waves splashing up, especially this year. You can see we hardly have to irrigate this back lawn at all this year, because the waves are crashing up and watering the lawn for us. But it's a really special space and place, situated right on the water, looking out at beautiful Round Island. Round Island is a nationally protected wilderness area, so there's no homes or cottages or cabins or anything whatsoever on that island. The only structure is the Round Island Lighthouse, which has been historically preserved and is obviously quite a beautiful view out there in the Straits of Mackinac. And then over to our right here is the Mackinac Bridge. That 5-mile long suspension bridge used to be the longest suspension bridge in the world. Now I think it's the 4th or 5th longest in the world, but spans an incredible Straits of Mackinac there that divides Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. And one of the most fascinating aspects of the Mackinac Bridge is that 75% of the mass of the bridge is actually underwater. So a tremendous amount of work and engineering and everything went into the anchoring and the structure, and they really they really bit off a lot to be able to put that whole entire thing together when they did. And believe it or not, as a federal project, they came in at the time $1 million under budget, which I also find really fascinating because you certainly never hear about that anymore. And they finished it ahead of schedule as well. Look at that. The waves and the water just splashing right up here. And this is just from the ferry boat wake coming by. So you can imagine in a big storm, which we certainly get. It's not a stormy day today. It's absolutely beautiful. But on a big stormy day, the waves are just crashing right onto the lawn. And I can remember as a kid, when the water was much, much lower, walking out probably 30, 40 feet before jumping off of some rocks to go swimming and stuff like that. And now I could, just about dive right off right here. Earlier this spring, when we videoed through, we had a whole bunch of plants in here, hydrangeas, daylilies and dogwood and all kinds of stuff. And we had to rip those all out because they got completely undermined. There was no soil left. This used to be a garden bed. Right along through here was full of soil, and this was a whole garden bed. And now you can see there's just a few plants left, like this daylily here, still trying to hold on. Look at that, it's about to bloom even. Here's another one. Amazing how tough these plants are. This actually looks really healthy and vigorous and beautiful. And this daylily right here has just been battered and beaten in the waves here. There's another one. This used to be a really beautiful garden full of obviously a lot of daylilies. And looks like we have a couple more that we can add to the other gardens out front. But wow, I'm totally getting soaked. I love the planters here. This year the color scheme is really pretty, a lot of purple and hot pink. And this verbena is definitely of note here. This verbena right here, it's called Amethyst Mist. It's a new verbena from Proven Winners, and it's been absolutely unbelievable for us. No matter where we've put it, it's been a blooming powerhouse. It's got really cool, kind of multicolored purple blooms with a deeper purple toward the center like that. Amethyst Mist. We've really been loving it. It's been performing. As you can see, it's in all of these pots. We kind of featured it on this property this year. I'm going to take these daylilies with us. So another plant of note here up in the front is this Columnar Beech. This is a really impressive specimen. Again, this one was planted probably, it was about, I'd say probably 8 feet tall or so when it went in. It's got to be 50 or 60 feet tall now for sure, but really impressive columnar, kind of real tight vase-like shape to it. And I very soon here am going to do some pretty good pruning on this thing. I think I'm gonna lift the canopy of this just a little bit. We'll leave these, you know, obviously these much thicker, bigger branches, but I think some of these thinner, lower branches, and some, obviously we gotta get some of the dead and everything out of there too. But I'm gonna lift the canopy up in this thing a little bit. And here's one that you guys can help me with. We're gonna lift the canopy up, we're gonna get rid of this honeysuckle that's back here. And then right back in here, there's sort of a hole where we need to put something. So once we lift the canopy of that Columnar Beech up, get rid of that honeysuckle, we've got an opportunity here to plant something new. So pop quiz, let me know what you think. I've got a couple ideas, but help me out in designing this little element. We got to do something special right there in that corner here at Grandma's house. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me on another beautiful little garden tour here on Mackinac Island. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.